How's it going, metalheads, and welcome back to another video. This is a discussion type video, just one I wanted to make. It was brought on by a video I saw recently done by my friend, the CD guy, Johnny Z. If you don't know his channel, definitely go check him out. I'll link him down in the description. But he did a rant about stuff he hates about being a CD collector, and it just got me thinking about the current state of, collecting CDs and physical media today, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts on that, being a CD collector and all. But yeah, let's just get right into it. As you guys know, the main thing surrounding physical media today is, the prevalence of streaming services and, physical media not being the biggest way to listen to music anymore. With that, the price has also gone up of collecting physical media quite a bit. Because, it used to be, the way to do it. You would, get CDs or tapes from your friends. Obviously, I wasn't around back then to do that. And so for me, CD collecting has been really weird, to do it, as like a younger person who wasn't around back when it was the main source of music, and now just does it as kind of a hobby. Obviously, with it being more expensive, it's harder for younger people like me to get into it. I was originally introduced to CDs by my dad. He saved a bunch of his old AC/DC CDs for whatever reason. He didn't really ever use them after college and whatever. But I got those, and those were my first CDs. I want to say the first CD I ever bought by myself was continuing his collection. I bought Back in Black on CD, I believe was my first ever CD purchase. But then I would start, getting local bands, like at shows, I'd pick up their CDs. They had them. And then my uncle gave me his CD collection as well. It was just a little booklet, didn't have any jewel cases, but it had stuff like Pantera and Metallica and stuff. So that really kickstarted my love for it. And it just kind of seemed natural, like if I really loved a release, why wouldn't I have it on physical version, because it just feels really weird to just listen to it on your phone for me. And while that's, still the way I discover a lot of my music, it's really cool to be able to collect it on a physical version. But, there's a lot of different ways to do that nowadays. It used to just be, either you get the tape from your friends, you dub it off your friends, or you go to the record store. Nowadays, you can order a bunch. Ordering is my probably main way of getting them on my CDs. I don't go to the record store a whole lot, just because even with it being, you don't have to pay shipping. Obviously, when you go to the record store, it's still really expensive. I went to the record store the other day, and I want to talk about a little bit about that. Ways to save money when you're buying CDs. A good way to do that is to look at the used section. For instance, I don't think you guys have seen some of these yet, by the way, because they're newer. But I was at the record store the other day, found this German pressing of Sound of Perseverance by Death for like $8, I believe, because it was used. The jewel case is a little scuffed up, stuff like that, but the disc itself is in good condition. And always do that when you're looking at stuff in the used bin. Make sure that the disc is in good condition, because you can always replace the jewel case, but you can't replace, the actual music. Nowadays, new CDs at record stores are running, at least in my area, $14, $15, even sometimes $16 to $17 if you're looking at special releases and, double disc, that kind of thing. For instance, I picked up this copy of Warbringers Weapons of Tomorrow, new at the record store. It ran me $15. And so, with albums like that I love, I absolutely love this album, if you didn't know that, I'm willing to pay that price. But if you're paying $15 for every new CD, the prices can go up very quick. And, as a younger person myself who doesn't have a whole lot of money to be spending anyway, paying $15 a CD is kind of annoying when you want to get more than two CDs when you go to the record store with, $30 or whatever. So another way to obviously get the CDs is to buy them from the bands themselves. And some of the bands are nice, and they sell them at a pretty good price. So, even if you're paying shipping, it still gives you a great way to, collect their music. Like this band I shouted out today called Pain Portal. This is their debut album called Portal of Pain. They were only charging about $6 for this on Bandcamp. And so with shipping, I paid about $12, which is really, really good for nowadays. Buying a new CD for $12, even online, is really, really good. Obviously, another way to find a whole lot of music that maybe is sold out in record stores, you can't find anymore, older releases, is Discogs. Discogs has a lot of rare stuff too, like this release I'm about to show you. If you watched my Replicant video, this is a copy of their debut album. I looked for this forever. There wasn't a copy on Discogs for the longest time. Finally found it. I actually paid over $40 for this, just because of how rare it is. It was very limited release. because Replicant wasn't a very big band at the time. But you can also find just regular, like smaller releases on Discogs for less money, especially if you can't find those releases in your local record store and stuff like that. With that being said, the hobby is still very expensive. And I do think that if more people don't start doing it and realize how expensive it is and try to fix that the hobby could go away entirely just because of how easy it is to stream all your music nowadays. Which would suck because obviously physical media is really fun. And it is making a comeback by the statistics, but inflation is still fucking it up really good because everybody's buying CDs, but everybody's spending a whole lot of money on CDs. If you could go buy a new CD still for, even just like $10 instead of $15, it would make a huge difference. And so that is probably my biggest pet peeve with collecting CDs, especially as a younger person, is that they're so expensive nowadays. I still love this compared to streaming or, other types of but like, it's also about supporting the artist, right? Like I said, you could buy them from the bands, and even that is better than buying it off of Discogs or, your record store or whatever, because I highly doubt that your local record store is giving a cut of, the new CD to the artist, unless they're local. But even just like buying the release on Bandcamp, I have a bunch of releases on Bandcamp. I'll buy a song for $1 or whatever just because it supports the artist, You don't have to always just use streaming. I don't know if you guys know this, but Spotify historically does not pay the artist well at all. I think 1 million streams get you something like $100 in revenue, which is nuts. Apple Music's a little bit better than that, but not quite. And so streaming in terms of fun. I really like collecting CDs is the worst way to do it because streaming isn't fun. You just click a button, you have the music. In terms of supporting the artist, it's the worst way to do it because they don't get a whole lot of revenue off of that. And just in terms of, keeping the old music around. And I know I can't really say that because I'm only 18 years old. I was not around back then, like I said before. But it's really fun to collect physical media and, look at your collection and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like that we should really try to keep this around and keep it at a reasonable price so everybody can enjoy it. Just because collecting CDs is something I really enjoy. And I feel like you, especially metalheads, are really big into physical media, sometimes more than other genres, I feel. And so if we can keep that around and keep it at a reasonable price for everybody to enjoy, it'll really help the hobby out a lot. But this is just a discussion video I wanted to do about the state of, CD collecting in 2026. So this is just my opinion. If you disagree with me on any of these things, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But yeah, just a little discussion video I wanted to do. Hope you're all doing well. Have a nice day. See ya.